Prime Minister Narendra Modi has held a meeting with the revamped Council of Ministers. Now, this meeting has just got concluded. Sources have told India Today that the Prime Minister directed the ministers to focus on their task ahead to deliver, to ensure that government schemes are delivered on ground and to use social media platforms to give out more information on government schemes. He also said, study the role and responsibilities and possibilities on the road ahead from your ministers, from senior ministers. This is his advice to ministers of state. Learn from senior ministers, work hard. He's also asked the ministers of state to work closely with cabinet ministers. And there's lots more that's filtering out after this meeting. And I quickly want to cut across to India Today's National Affairs Editor, Rahul Srivastav, who joins us for more. Rahul, the Prime Minister in this meeting. So first there was the cabinet. We heard what the decisions that were taken in that cabinet meeting, but the entire meeting with Council of Ministers, the Prime Minister had a strong word of advice for the young or the new ministers. Bring us details, Rahul.
Gaurav, one very strong word from the Prime Minister. Not good news for all of us. The Prime Minister told the ministers, desist completely from unnecessary, unrelated comments. Speak about your only regarding your policies and your ministries. So basically what the Prime Minister said, avoid the media. That's not good news for us. But beyond that, Gaurav, what the Prime Minister's 10 commandments to the Council of Ministers today were that there is need, that they need to work hard as far as the policy creation and the policy delivery is concerned. If there were certain ministers who were removed, the Prime Minister didn't mention that element. But the indication was that the delivery mechanism and the awareness levels about the government's policy needs to improve drastically. He almost told every one of them that you all cannot have treat this ministerial berth as some kind of easy time. You have to work very hard. He said, familiarize yourself with all the elements of a ministry, roles, responsibilities and functions, so that you can deliver and create better. He also said, you know, Gaurav, what we have always, you have reported it many times, that there is always a disconsonance between or disconnect between the cabinet minister and the minister of state. Now, this time around, you have something close to 45 ministers of state under 30 cabinet ministers. Now, if there is a disconnect, there will be a large amount of manpower, political and administrative, which will be going waste. So the Prime Minister today, Gaurav, did something very interesting. Today, he was speaking at the directors of centrally funded technology institutes like IIT Bombay and others, and Education Minister Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan was with him. But also there were 3 MOSs, Annapurna Devi, Subhash Sarkar and Rajkumar Ranjan Singh. And what is being told by the Prime Minister's office is that this is going to be a norm, that whenever a cabinet minister is going to attend a meeting, not the cabinet meeting, a meeting related to the ministry, the ministers of state are also going to be there, so that all of them are on the same page.
Fair enough. Stay with me, Rahul. Lots of major developments taking place today, and Rahul Srivastav stays with me on this big story. Now, the Union Agriculture Minister, Narendra Singh Tomar, he's made one thing very clear. Farm laws will not be repealed despite the agitation. Now, ministers gave details of their priorities after the first cabinet meeting post the reshuffle. Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur, the Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia, they gave details of efforts that are currently being undertaken to prepare for the third wave of COVID-19. Remember, the Health Ministry has already been talking about revenge tourism and its impact. We'll talk about that in greater detail, but let's take a look at what transpired in the first cabinet briefing. The first meeting of an all-new expanded Council of Ministers. Hours after ministers took oath, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a cabinet meeting in which critical decisions were taken. And the first big move was aimed at farmers. Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar, who retained his portfolio in the mega reshuffle, said that the cabinet had cleared 1 lakh crore for agricultural infrastructure through the APMC. He made a renewed appeal to farmers to end their agitation, but remained firm that there was no question of repealing the farm laws.
कानून को रिपील करने के अतिरिक्त कोई भी प्रस्ताव वो लेकर हमारे पास आएं, हम उस प्रस्ताव पर चर्चा करने के लिए तैयार हैं।
The next major decision taken was in the health sector. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia announced an additional 23,123 crore emergency response fund to fight the next wave of COVID.
23,000 करोड़ रुपीस का एक पैकेज है। ये पैकेज में कुल मिला के केंद्र सरकार और राज्य सरकार दोनों साथ में मिलके उसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन करेंगे और ये पैसा स्टेट को दिया जाएगा। केंद्र सरकार की ओर से 15,000 करोड़ रुपीस दिया जाएगा और राज्य सरकार 8,000 करोड़ रुपीस निकालेगी।
Mandavia, who replaced Dr. Harshvardhan, said that the centre was much better prepared to deal with the third wave. With 36 new ministers and new synergy established between portfolios, the Prime Minister has charted the course for his government to take. Many more announcements are expected in the days and weeks ahead. Bureau Report, India Today. Rahul, no repeal of farm laws, yet reaching out to farmers once again. Now, is this rhetoric or is there a genuine effort to reach out to farmers and find a solution? And what impact will this have, whether it's elections in Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand or Punjab?
Lot of serious repercussions, especially in a state like Punjab. The BJP, which is already battling an ally like Akali Dal, walking out and tying up with the BSP. In Western Uttar Pradesh, the government is worried. Though in the local elections, the BJP has done well in those areas which are largely seen as the agrarian, Jat-dominated areas like Muzaffarnagar and others. But the fact remains that there is a sense of worry. And that is why, Gaurav, what the government did today, that the central scheme, the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, has today included the FPOs, the APMCs and others. Now, one of the biggest reasons why farmers were misled regarding the farm laws, that the APMC structure will be dismantled by the new farm laws which have been put in place by the central government. That was the reason why there was an upsurge among the farmers. Today, the government has created a loan subvention scheme in which APMCs and these farmers' bodies and cooperatives will get strengthened. So what the government has done, offered something to farmers to show that it is serious, that the APMC structure will not get dismantled, instead will get strengthened. On the other hand, the government has extended a hand of talk. What it wants to show is that it is being reasonable. But now the ball is in the courts of the farmer union leaders.
And there are more details, Rahul, that are just coming in of what the Prime Minister told the new Council of Ministers. We are now being told that the Prime Minister has directed the new ministers to meet their predecessors and gain from their experience. Now, at a meeting of the Council of Ministers, the Prime Minister said those no longer a part of it made immense contribution and newcomers can benefit from it. Now, sources are also telling India Today that the Prime Minister asked the ministers to reach office on time and channelize all the energies into their ministerial work. Rahul, once again, there was a lot of talk about whether it was Dr. Harshvardhan or Ravi Shankar Prasad or Prakash Javadekar or the others. 12 ministers went out. The Prime Minister is saying, learn from their experience. Is this an attempt to send out a signal that they weren't axed for non-performance?
Gaurav, generally, yes, there is a lot can be learned from the ministers who are not part. But I think it's a general message from the Prime Minister that they should meet all the seniors. Now, over the last couple of years, Gaurav, there has been complaints that several ministers not only ignore the elders in the party, but members of parliament. They have find great difficulty in actually meeting the ministers. In fact, Gaurav, there are several complaints by RSS cadres who work on the ground. Eventually, the BJP benefits hugely when it goes for an electoral exercise because of the RSS structure. And when people become ministers, they ignore the RSS cadres. It's a general message from the Prime Minister. That's what we had said earlier. You had said earlier that talk to your seniors. Be with the seniors. Learn from their experiences. Do not ignore anybody. And very interesting, Gaurav, though there is a battle going on with the social media platforms, the Prime Minister said, be on the social media platforms, popularize the schemes of this government so that there is greater awareness.
The new ministers have been directed to hit the ground running. The challenges are immense. The focus, as Rahul Srivastava was just pointing out, the Prime Minister told the ministers deliver, be it education or employment, infrastructure or healthcare, tourism or culture. Across the board, there are key result areas that are clearly marked out for the 43 new ministers. Our political bureau gets us more.
First day, first show of the newly minted mantris. Day after taking oath, an all-new Team Modi got down straight to business. The newly appointed I&B and Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur was the first to take charge.
जो जिम्मेदारी माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने मुझे दी है, मैं उस पर खरा उतरने का हर संभव प्रयास करूंगा. जो विश्वास व्यक्त किया है उस पर खरा उतरने का प्रयास करूंगा.
Former IAS officer Ashwini Vaishnav took charge of crucial two ministries, Railways and Information Technology and Communications.
I thank Honorable Prime Minister for giving me this very big responsibility. Railways is a subject which is very close to Honorable Prime Minister's heart. His vision is huge and I will work hard to implement his vision. Railways is already, last 7 years, lots of good work has been done and it will be my responsibility to take it forward.
With the Twitter versus Centre war already raging, the new IT minister has his task cut out. And on his debut, he had this warning for the social media giant.
भारत में रहने वाले हर व्यक्ति को, भारत में काम करने वाली हर कंपनी को, सभी को भारत के नियम मानने चाहिए.
अगर वो नहीं मानते क्योंकि आपकी तरफ से नोटिस गया, वो मंत्रालय
पूरा इसका स्टडी करूंगा.
Kiran Rijiju, who has been promoted to a cabinet rank, took over as the new law minister.
Whatever charge comes to us, whatever responsibility is assigned, we have to discharge it with full commitment.
Mansukh Mandavia, who will be leading India's COVID fight back now, assumed office as the new health minister.
स्वास्थ्य मंत्री के रूप में प्रधानमंत्री जी की अपेक्षा के अनुसार मैं काम करने की कोशिश करूंगा.
The new Modi cabinet boasts of Nari Shakti with 11 women ministers, the highest representation since 2004. MOS External Affairs and Culture, Meenakshi Lekhi, was the first woman minister to take charge.
प्रधानमंत्री जी सशक्त महिलाओं को जिम्मेवारी देकर भारत को सशक्त करने की बात कर रहे हैं. यही पुरानी नीति और अब की नीति में अंतर है.
MOS Health Bharti Pawar, MOS Agriculture Shobha Karan Laje and MOS Commerce and Industries Anupriya Patel too hit the ground running.
एक बहुत ही अच्छा विभाग है, मेरे लिए नया विभाग है, एक लर्निंग अपॉर्चुनिटी है, बहुत कुछ सीखने का अवसर भी होगा.
The opposition, however, is unimpressed with Team Modi's new lineup. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi took a jibe at the new health minister.
For 7 years, among various unfulfilled promises of Prime Minister Modi, is the promise of the Women's Reservation Bill. He said immediately that will be passed. We passed it in the Rajya Sabha during the UPA time. That has been pending for 7 years. If the concern is so much for women, why is that bill not being passed?
The new ministers have their task cut out. A raging pandemic and a COVID-infected economy are the two big challenges that will need immediate attention.
The mid-term cabinet reshuffle saw many political heavyweights exit out. With that, expectations have mounted on the new ministers, especially amidst a raging pandemic and an economy under stress. And with the Prime Minister keeping a close watch, it is a tightrope walk for the ministers with little margin for error. With video journalist Hitesh, this is Mosmi Singh in Delhi for India Today.